Hello and welcome everybody to Game 2 of Strelok vs. Revival, played in the Intel Extreme Masters Tournament global challenge that happened in Guangzhou, China a couple weeks ago now. It's a little bit older of a tournament, but I'm going to be casting this TVZ, oh my god, I almost couldn't get that out, TVZ today, and spotting in the bottom left position here as the blue Terran, playing for Team FXO, we have Strelok. Spawning in the top right position, his opponent today playing as the red Zerg. In the top right position of Shakuras Plateau, playing for Team SCB Life, we have Revival. Now, this is going to be, as I said, Shakuras Plateau. This is going to be game 2 of a best of 3, and because this is Shakuras Plateau, then you can almost always bet that a Zerg player is going to be going for a fairly fast expansion, and oh yeah, alright, Revival was messing with me there a little bit, but almost guaranteed that Revival's going to be going for a fast expansion. Wouldn't be surprised to see a fairly fast expansion come out of Strelok as well, just because, of course, on Shakuras Plateau, you've only got one ramp to defend, and it's not that big of a ramp, and you are defending 2 bases at once. Absolutely beautiful. Now, in Game 1, we saw, I was actually really surprised to see that Revival didn't take Game 1. Revival was doing really well. He was way up in food count, way up in harvesters for most of the game, but just had one really bad engagement where he kind of pushed in with a lot of Ultralisks, and Strelok just had a ton of siege tanks nice and far back behind his behind his marine line, and those siege tanks pretty much did their work on all the Ultralisks of Revival, and Revival just wasn't able to quite recover. Strelok from that point on was constantly doing drops and trying to be aggressive and trying to deny bases, and Revival was just not able to keep up with Strelok. So Strelok here gonna see if he can't take this best of 3 in Game 2. Now, I'd like to talk very briefly about a little bit of something that I don't think gets discussed quite enough about. Obviously, we see Revival is going for this expand or economic style of play where he's getting this hatchery followed by a spawning pool. And looks like Strelok here is going to be going for this barracks with a tech lab, and it looks like Revival did scout that tech lab, so he is going to know that there is going to be a Reaper on the way. Now, there's one thing we should talk about, because something that people don't talk about too often, and it's something that's very important, is a style of opening. It's very important to know what kind of opening you're going for when you're playing any given matchup. If you're going for, say, an economy-based play, well, first, I'm going to start by talking about the 3 types of play. There's, of course, the economy or expand style play. There's the rush or aggressive style play. And then, of course, there is kind of the balance of the 2 style. So, it can be kind of rock, paper, scissors-y in early game openings. If you go for a pure rush build, you will beat a player that goes for a fast expand build or economy-based build. Whereas if you try to rush a person that's going for a balanced build that's getting up some army units but is still trying to focus on his economy and things, then the rush player will usually not be able to win against the balanced player's defender's advantage. So it can feel kind of rock paper scissors-y in the early game, but it's important to realize that it's not quite as black and white, or I don't even know what to call it. What's black and white when you have 3 options? I don't know. It's not quite as, I guess, black and white as it feels, or as it can feel sometimes, but it's important to recognize what kind of style that you play. So think about it. When you play, what kind of an opening do you go for? Is yours a balanced style opening? Is yours a rush style opening? Or is yours a little bit of a balance of the 2? Are you doing, did I say that right? Are you going for an expand style opening, a rush or aggressive style opening, or a balanced opening? Because it's very important in knowing what exactly you can hold off and where your strengths and weaknesses lie. So now let's jump back into this game now that we've had a little bit of a strategy talk. Of course, that strategy talk is brought to you by Day 9. Day 9 is absolutely fantastic. Almost everything I know about StarCraft was learned from watching lots of Day 9. Absolutely fantastic guy. If you don't know who Day 9 is, go check it out at day9.tv. He is pretty much the god of StarCraft strategy. Absolutely love that man. Now, in the base of Strelok right now, we did have a bit of a 1-1-1 build coming down here for Strelok. He did get that factory up, followed by a starport. That factory did have a reactor drops down on it, and he's now double producing those Hellions, going to be trying to take that early map control that he took in Game 1, and now this starport is now up with an attached tech lab. Looks like we might be seeing some Banshee tech here coming out of Strelok very soon. Orbital Command has been constructed. It is going to now be going down at the natural expansion. This is almost what I would call a more balanced style build. build. As you can see, he didn't go immediately. This wasn't just like a one racks expand right away. No, that is not what was going on here for Strelok. Strelok tried to put on some early pressure with a couple of Marines. Not a big, huge, I am now going to kill you with everything I've got kind of an attack, but no, it was like a very light, apply some pressure while I get my expansion up. So it was a much more balanced style build, whereas Revival, of course, went for a much more economic focused build, which we can see in the fact that he's got 2 expansions up and he's using all his larvae and pumping them into drones as much as he possibly can. As you can see, he's got 1 spine crawler here defending the front. And so this is definitely a very, very economic focused play. As a Zerg player, it can be a little bit different for Zerg players just because it is so standard to go 2 base. Sometimes I would almost call some of these Zerg fast expansion openings a balanced opening just because they're not entirely economic focused. For Zerg, I would almost call an economic focused build to go for immediately a fast third. You know, a lot of times you'll see Zergs go for that very fast third base if they see that natural expansion go down. And I would call that a very, very economic focused play there for Zerg. Now, looks like TSLRevival trying to get up some Banelings here, going to try to defend against all these Hellions. Strelok, though, not trying to be too aggressive at this point. He keeps just going in there with a lot of units and just kind of parking him out at the front and kind of just threatening your opponent. He's kind of almost just containing his opponent. We do have 1 Banshee that's now trying to do a little bit of harassment. No kills yet for that Banshee, and there are a couple of Queens here defending, and it looks like 1 drone is going to go down there for that Banshee, but there are 2 Queens here, and that Banshee's going to go down quick if he is not careful. Now, this is very interesting Overlord placement here, actually, by Revival. Revival being very, very good about spreading out those Overlords. Those Overlords are behind every single one of the bases, just barely within range. All he needs to be able to see is the minerals. He's actually a little bit too far away on both of those, but he'll be able to just grab those and just poke in at any time he feels it's necessary. Definitely smart Overlord positioning there by Revival. Against a Terran opponent, you never want to just have all your Overlords just out in the middle of the map just because they will get picked off by Marines. But as you can see, Revival, look at every single one of these Overlords. They're giving him a ton of map vision. Actually, you know what? Let's actually just look at Revival's map vision right now. This is Revival's map vision. Look at this. He can see down here. You can see this expansion. He can see drops. He can also poke in here and check for this base. He's got sight on this third base. He can also has some sight on this Zelnaga watchtower, so he can keep control of that. He's got Overlords over all these high grounds so that they don't get picked off by Marines, and just got a lot of vision on every single one of those bases that's out there. So I absolutely love that play there from Revival. Now we do have Revival moving out with a lot of Lings, not quite able to catch all those Hellions off guard there. And what happened to that Banshee? Did that Banshee go down? Let's check out that unit counting station. No, that Banshee's still up here somewhere. I gotta find that Banshee. I don't know what actually happened to that Banshee. We'll find it later. I'll check it up on the mini-map. Let's check out the workers killed count right now. We can see 2 workers killed, so that Banshee has not done any additional damage. Yeah, there he is. He's just hiding in the corner still. Still only has that 1 kill on him. And now it looks like Revival is now moving across the map now with a couple of Mutalisks as well as a bunch of Zerglings and Banelings, but it looks like Strelok going for a standard style of Marine siege tank once again is going to be pushing out and trying to deal some damage here. Is he going to be taking a third? Doesn't look like it quite yet. Love this missile turret positioning here from Strelok, defending this whole position here from Mutalisks. Mutalisks could kind of sneak around there, but then they're going to kind of be trapped back there. So I really like that positioning there by Strelok. Now Strelok is moving in with all these Marines. Looks like he's going to be trying to deny this third. This third is going to be forced to be canceled here by Revival, and it looks like he's now going to start taking down these gas geysers. Now sieging up these 2 siege tanks, and it looks like Revival now trying to macro up some forces to be able to defend lots of Zerglings. Holy cow, that's a lot of Banelings now being morphed in here for Revival. Revival morphing in units as fast as he can. Macro hatchery is up. Banelings researching that Baneling nest, researching that centrifugal hooks, which will be up very, very soon. +1 melee attack upgrades currently going down. +1 attack upgrade for Mutalisks has now been finished. And a lot of Zerglings now on the production tab here for Revival. 40 Zerglings currently being produced here by Revival. Looks like he might be going for a big counterattack here as all the forces of Strelok are kind of stuck back here. These 2 siege tanks are going to be able to do a lot of damage, and those siege tanks get a lot of hits on them there. But as we can see, the forces of Revival starting to get a very, very large army. This is starting to get very, very intimidating. Note that this is also a very, very mobile army. So what he's going to try to do is he's going to just try to bypass this entire force of Strelok's, which is not at this point a mobile army. Siege tanks are not at all mobile. They are very, very the opposite of mobile. They are very slow, and they siege, and they are forced to stay where they are. But here comes the big counterattack now. Wow! Baneling busting down all those units at the front wall, and now all the Mutalisks are now coming in, going to be able to pick off all these Marines at the front. In the meantime, some forces are stemming forward. TSLRevival with tons of Banelings and Lings here, able to defend all those Marines at the front, and now Revival just moving in, doing a lot of damage at the base of Strelok. One Baneling's going to get into that mineral line, and so many SCVs have been dealt a lot of damage here. Now Strelok is taking a lot of damage on that orbital command from those Zerglings, while the Mutalisks move into the main here. Even got some Zerglings here taking out those Marines, and so much damage is being done to Strelok's economy right now. He's just going to continue to push in right now. He has no choice at this point but to base trade. If he tries to go back right now, too much damage would be done, and so he is stuck here trying to do as much damage as he can. And now we can see that Revival is now pulling back all of his forces. He knows he's done a lot of damage. Now all he needs to do is be able to survive this attack, and he will win Game 2 of the series. He's now pulling back with a lot of Lings, a lot of Banelings. And I think his Baneling Nest, no, his Baneling Nest is still up. Centrifugal hooks are up, and that's a lot of Banelings coming down this ramp right now for Revival. But those siege tanks so well positioned, got so many kills off there. But now we do have the Mutalisks swarming in here and taking out all these siege tanks. Looks like Revival is going to clean up this attack quite nicely, taking a decisive lead right now in the food count, 94 food to 35. Revival needs to get up another expansion as fast as he can, needs to start applying some pressure of his own. Still got a lot of workers up right now, 48 workers to the 11 workers of Strelok. Strelok definitely not in the best position right now, and oh no, I think this orbital command might have accidentally been hotkeyed or something. Strelok accidentally moving his orbital command a little far away. He's got to get an SCV out there if he's going to want to be able to repair that up. There we go. Now their SCVs are now repairing up that orbital command, but now the economy of Strelok's is just hurting so badly at this point in time. He does have some mules, which are going to be a little bit of a help, but here Revival is just going to be taking double expansions right now, going to be retaking his natural as well as this fourth base down here, and it looks like I think Revival is going to be in an absolutely fantastic spot to be able to take Game 2 here. Looks like Strelok just now going to be landing that orbital command, needs to start getting those mules out ASAP here, as Revival is starting to feel a little bit more aggressive here, getting a lot of his Mutalisks out, moving across the map. He's going to start to move in, poke in at these bases, try to see that no bases are actually going down here for Strelok. Wants to contain Strelok to the bases that he has at this point in time, and just keep his lead at this point. He really just needs to keep up his lead and stay ahead of his opponent, get up more workers, keep that army count, and the moment he's maxed, he needs to attack if he doesn't just attack sooner and just outright try to kill his opponent. As we can see, it looks like Strelok trying to do something to be aggressive here. He needs to do some more damage here. He definitely didn't do enough damage with that push. Although he is mining on 2 base, which Revival isn't quite doing that. He's doing some long distance mining at this point in time, just now getting up another expansion at this lower base. Looks like he's going to be very, very fast, spreading some creep back up to connect these 2 bases. And now Revival just completely denying any expansions here from Strelok, keeping a Zergling down at this lower position while he just continues to create more Mutalisks, more Zerglings, so that he can try to stay ahead in the food count and just go for one big attack. Now here we go. All the Mutalisks are moving in, able to take out that missile turret, but now are going to be forced away by all these Marines. Do we have any bunkers at the front? No, it looks like Strelok's actually going to be going for a bit of a drop here. I wouldn't be too opposed to putting some bunkers down here at the front, just because he's kind of in a sketchy position at this point in time. He's got to know he's way ahead. He knows that his opponent still has a lot of workers from what he last saw. And where did that drop go? There's that drop moving across. But look at this Overlord positioning here from Revival. Going to be able to see that drop multiple times over, and Strelok realizing that there's no way that that drop is going to do damage. With that Overseer there, is now just pulling back to the front of his expansion to defend. Of course, Terran's very, very strong at defending with those siege tanks, able to do quite a bit. And actually, Strelok's getting his economy back on track fairly quickly here. 31 harvesters to 57 right now. Strelok is way behind, but he's actually been building up quite fast. I'm actually pretty impressed with how fast Strelok is rebuilding his economy, and it looks like he actually now has a very, very intimidating force that he's now pushing out with. Once again, in the meantime, Revival's going to be moving in with all these Mutalisks. What is Strelok going to do? Is he going to come back to try to defend his base? No, it looks like he's going to continue to push forward. Looks like he knows that this push is pretty much going to be the last engagement. If he can't win this fight, then that is pretty much going to be it for him. And now Revival is now moving into the main of Strelok, and there is pretty much nothing here to be able to defend. In the meantime, Strelok is going to be moving in here, needs to be very, very careful about how he uses his stims. Why? Because his stims are, well, he's not reinforcing his Marines at this point in time. Every stim he uses is going to be 10 hit points on every single one of his Marines, and he's going to be losing, and all the Banelings moving in right now, able to take out a ton of Marines. That was a huge loss there for Strelok. Not able to split up his forces quite fast enough. He's going to move in and be able to take out this expansion, but I don't know, at this point it's a base race, and I think Revival is going to be able to win it, just because he's got this base mining down here at this lower expansion. He's got a lot of banelings up right now. Burrow is not quite researched. I wouldn't be surprised if he did have Burrow up to start doing some Burrow play, start burrowing lots and lots of whatchamacallits, banelings all over the map, just so that once he does come back, he'll be able to demolish that marine count quite easily, and then these Mutalisks will be able to pick off those siege tanks, especially once he gets down these orbital commands and he is not able to scan anymore. Now these Mutalisks going to be coming down, trying to hunt down that command center. Needs to hunt down that command center as soon as he can, because that is the only way that he's going to have his opponent's base revealed to him. That's the only way he's going to win. Looks like we do have a big base trade going on here for Strelok, as he's now moved into the main, and he's now going to be taking out this expansion rather fast, but Revival still with more than double the food count of Strelok, I think is going to be able to defend this quite well. This Overlord did manage to finally scout this orbital command so that Revival know it's there, but you know, at this point in time, I think Revival can just pretty much go back, pretty much take this out. He needs to wait, though, for these siege tanks to unsiege, and once they unsiege, he'll just be able to move in with lots of Zerglings, lots of Banelings, be able to clean this little attack up, and I think Revival's in a fantastic spot to be able to take this match. Currently rebuilding his spawning pool at the lower location, building as many Mutalisks as he can while he still has his Spire up. The Spire did finally just now go down, and so now it looks like, here we go, here comes the final big engagement as all the Banelings hold on. We're going to go rewatch that again, because that was a lot of stuff that happened all at once, and yes, the siege tanks were left so far out of position, and those two siege tanks do get sniped off. The siege tank is not in siege mode, and all the Banelings are now coming up the ramp, and they are going to be crashing into all of those Marines, and that is going to do it for Strelok. 6 food now to the 93 food of Revival. Fantastic play there. Revival even taking another expansion, and check out that vision. God, GG from Strelok, but holy cow, let's just look at the vision of Revival right now. Just look at this mini-map right now. Look at all the vision he has everywhere. He can see everything that's going on that map. Absolutely fantastic play there from TSL's Revival. That means we are currently 1-1, and now going to be going into Game 3 of this best of 3 to see who is going to be winning in this group stages map. Yeah, this was part of the group stages, so it was still just a best of 3 at the IEM in Guangzhou, China. So stick with me, guys. We're going to go into Game 3, see if we can't finish off this best of 3 and see which of these two fantastic players can take the series.